Hello and welcome to this edition of Into Vietnam. Today in the headlines. The Consumer Price Index is expected to rise 0.62% in December. Moody's says Vietnam makes progresses in restructuring the banking system. Also in the news, the country runs $1 billion of trade surplus in November 2013. A recent survey revealed credit organizations expect December Consumer Price Index will rise around 0.62% from November. Respondents believe the government has inflation under control. Inflation in 2013 is likely to register approximately 6.15%, below the 8% level set by the National Assembly's Socio-Economic Development Resolution and within the government target of 6 to 6.5%. The Consumer Price Index increased in June and hit record monthly highs of 0.83% in August and 1.06% in September. It is one more in October by 0.49% and November 0.34%. This is the second year Vietnam has contained inflation below the National Assembly's and the government targets. Vietnam has not let ongoing international economic difficulties distract it from proactively working towards macroeconomic stability, contained inflation, and sustainable economic growth. The annual inflation rate fell from 23.02% in August 2011 to 7.2% in August 2013 to 5.78% in November. The same credit organization survey recorded expectation of single-digit inflation of 6.74% in 2014. The U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry arrived in Hanoi on Sunday after visiting the Mekong Delta. On Sunday, he announced a commitment of $17 million from the U.S. to help Vietnamese communities suffering from the effects of climate change. The visit is a valuable chance for both sides to discuss ways to improve the strategic cooperation relation, deepen the mutual relationship, and international issues of mutual interest. 4 issues were high on agenda during the U.S. Secretary of State visit: their education and training, trade, environmental cooperation and climate change, and regional security enhancement. The U.S. Secretary of State affirms the huge potential for cooperation between Vietnam and the United States, which were agreed on by the Vietnam's Minister of Foreign Affairs Phạm Bình Minh, who says economic trade and investment tie has been the pillar in the Vietnam-U.S. relation since the two countries decided to normalize their relation. Minister Phạm Bình Minh also revealed a two-way trade between Vietnam and the United States increased 50-fold from $450 million in 1995 to $25 billion in 2012, making the U.S. among top 7 foreign investors in Vietnam. Mr. Kerry says once the TPP agreement is reached, the trade relation will be brought to a new height. TPP will have Vietnam have competition advantage, create high-speed economic growth, and generate more jobs. Kerry's visit to Vietnam comes as the United States tried to reach a trade deal with 11 countries in the Asia-Pacific region, including Vietnam. A Trans-Pacific Partnership Trade Pact is the centerpiece of U.S. efforts to refocus attention on the fast-growing Asia-Pacific region. Moody's Investor Service says in its annual report, stable outlook for rating of the government bonds B2 of Vietnam reflects the stability of the macroeconomy and initial progresses in the process of restructuring the banking system. Based on the method of rating national bonds, Moody's evaluated the Vietnam's economic strength is at a moderate level, organizational power is at a very low level, financial strength is at moderate level, and vulnerable level with risk is high. Moody's says the Vietnam GDP has been recovered out of low levels set last year. Besides, inflation has been stable and external payments position have improved. Especially export growth has contributed to recovering current account balance and payment balance in general. As a result, foreign currency reserves have reached nearly the highest level for many years. Moreover, stable exchange rate has contributed to inflation control over the past 2 years. the biggest credibility challenge for Vietnam related to hidden risk of the banking system and state-owned enterprises. Although the government's direct debts for these two sectors are moderate, expansion of the balance sheet of state-owned enterprises in the past decade partly came from rapid growth in the country that leads to the greater debt burden for the public sector. Yet, Moody's report says Vietnam has made progress in restructuring the banking system, although risk leading to credit rating decrease to the B2 level in December the 9th have not completely disappeared. According to an updated figure from the State Bank of Vietnam, bad debts account for 4.6% of total outstanding loans, equivalent to over 140 trillion dong. This bad debt amount is equal to 30% of own capital of commercial banks. Bad debts and bad debt settlement are still top priorities of credit organizations. However, the amount of bad debts constantly increases, although the application deadline for the circular on bad debt classification and risk provision is pushed back to the middle of next year. The bad debt rate is probably 3 times higher than the current level of 4.6% if the State Bank of Vietnam allows to restructure bad debts and the VMC does not acquire them. The bank's bad debt rate can be lower when debt purchase speed is likely to be accelerated in early next year. However, if bad debts are not handled thoroughly, decrease in bad debt rate does not ensure that banks will be safer. The Journal of Vietnam Customs says in its website today, December 16, Vietnam is estimated to run more than $1 billion of trade surplus in November. In details, Vietnam shipped $11.9 billion worth of goods in November, down 4.9% from October, while it imported $10.9 billion worth of goods in the month, down 12.2% from a month ago. Of note, the foreign direct investment sector posted $1.4 billion trade surplus in November. In the month, FDI sector export values reached $7.53 billion, down 6.6% on month, accounting for 62.8% of the whole country's export value, and its import values reached $6.13 billion, down 14.2% on month, accounting for 55.78% of the whole country import. Vietnam continued posting highest trade surplus value with the U.S. market in November with $1.73 billion, followed by Hong Kong, United Arab Emirates, Germany, and the United Kingdom. Meanwhile, the country suffered the highest trade deficit with China in November with more than $2 billion, followed by South Korea, Taiwan, Thailand, and Singapore. In the first 11 months, the country is estimated to reap totaled $120.71 billion from exports, while it spent $119.86 billion to buy goods and services, making a trade surplus of $85 million. Ranking first in the world in terms of volume, but the price and business results of the Vietnamese cashew industry are falling down. As of the beginning of the fourth quarter 2013, the total cashew exports hit 212,000 tons, up 15% on year. The volume went up, but the price went down, causing much lower revenue for this sector. Therefore, the solutions for the sustainable development of Vietnam cashew sector are of great concerns.
According to statistics by the Vietnam Cashew Association, from 2007 to present, the cashew cultivation areas have kept declining from 440,000 hectares in 2007 to the current area of only about 360,000 hectares. From a country with the biggest cashew cultivation area and volume in the world, Vietnam is now ranking the third and facing the risk of falling to the fourth position after India, Ivory Coast and Brazil.
Giá mua hạt điều của nông dân trong những năm gần đây thì chúng tôi cũng cho rằng nó cũng quá bấp bênh và nó cũng tức là không ổn định đấy. Và nói chung là nó cũng không công bằng với người nông dân. Giá hạt điều thì cũng không phải một mình một chợ, nó cũng liên quan đến giá các cái loại hạt khác và nó hoàn toàn do cái thị trường của người mua người ta quyết định. Mấy năm nay thì cái nguồn nguyên liệu nhập về từ bên ngoài thì với cái giá nó cũng rất là hấp dẫn đối với cái việc chế biến và xuất khẩu. Cho nên là mọi người cũng quan tâm đến cái nhập khẩu. Tất nhiên là người ta cũng không bỏ cái thị trường trong nước.
In the past, the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development warned that the biggest challenge for the cashew industry is the risk of importing up to 50% of materials for processing, lowering the added values. If domestic production is kept stable and farmers make profits, the cashew sector will develop sustainably, recovering the first position of Vietnam in the world in producing cashew.
Chúng ta vẫn phải nhập khẩu nguyên liệu điều thô 50% về để mà chúng ta là chế biến xuất khẩu. Còn trong nước chúng ta mới đáp ứng được là đủ nguyên liệu 50%. Thế thì cái mà 1,5 tỷ đó thì thực chất là chúng ta phần trong nước chúng ta làm ra giá trị tăng thêm và chúng ta được hưởng toàn bộ thì khoảng một nửa đó thôi. Còn nửa kia thì chúng ta phải là mua điều thô rồi chúng ta lại gia công chế biến rồi chúng ta xuất khẩu lại, thì cái sự gia tăng cái nửa sau đấy rất là thấp. Và chúng ta thật ra cũng là những cái nhà máy, nếu mà nói theo cái kiểu là cũng là gia công, làm nông nghiệp gia công làm thêm thôi, chứ cái giá trị tăng thêm là ít. Thế thì bây giờ chúng ta suy nghĩ làm thế nào để mà chúng ta tăng được là cái mà chúng ta sản xuất trong nước, hoặc là trực tiếp các doanh nghiệp chúng ta đầu tư nước ngoài để chúng ta tăng thêm cái giá trị được tạo ra như thế.
Experts say it's difficult to build cashew material areas because in the past it was considered as a tree for hunger elimination and poverty reduction. At present, when Vietnamese farmers have capital and better knowledge, they will choose other trees with higher economic efficiency. Hence, in the coming term, the area and volume of Vietnamese cashew will stay still. Meanwhile, the area of cashew cultivation in Africa is expanding, boosting the volume of material supply from Africa and is the pressure for Vietnamese cashew.
Muốn mà ổn định được cái ngành điều của Việt Nam, theo tôi là chỉ là cái vấn đề mà áp dụng khoa học kỹ thuật để mà tăng năng suất cây điều lên. Thì khi mà một cái sản lượng trên 1 hectare mà tăng lên thì người nông dân sẽ so sánh đối với những cây khác, người ta sẽ giữ hoặc là trồng tiếp những cái điều.
It is targeted that from 2013 to 2015, the processed cashew volume of Vietnam will reach 2.4 million tons, in which imported raw cashew materials will be 1.5 million tons. Domestic cashew net volume will hit 900,000 tons, and the rate of importing raw cashew will be 62.5%. To achieve these targets, the cashew sector is boosting the planning of materials areas, applying science and technology into production. At the same time, localities need to well plan the cultivation areas. In this way, cashew growers can raise their income and the cashew material areas can be maintained, ensuring the sustainable development of the cashew sector.
The program will wrap up with local gold prices, forex, and stock markets. Well, that's the news on VITV. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. We see you soon and goodbye for now.